Nick Canual, or Nikolai, on stage, and I'm just going to kind of give you a run through of the general setup I use, pretty much all of which just about came from right here at Pop's Music Shop. To start you off, I'm playing this Fender FSR Telecaster, Fender Special Run is what that stands for. You can get similar guitars to this, but you cannot get this guitar because there are 500 of them on the planet and I got one. So Bob and Michelle had it for a little while and I found it and I fell in love with it, and this is my #1 guitar all the time. I have several other guitars that I've bought from these guys as well, but this is the one I always come back to. So I'm just going to give you kind of a rundown of what we're working with here. I'm plugged into a Fender Hot Rod Deluxe, one of which I got from Pops last year, the year before. It's a great amp. You know, it works real hard to get that sound and it does it well. Yeah. Alright, so to give you the run through just what we're looking at, here's the order of the chain. This is my Boss noise suppressor. I run straight into this MXR Dynacomp, that's the compressor. From the compressor into this GE7 Boss equalizer. From the EQ into the 535Q wah pedal. From the wah pedal into the BF3 flanger. From the flanger into the chorus ensemble. From the chorus ensemble into the tremolo. And from the tremolo into the carbon copy delay. And from the delay out to the tube screamer, which runs out to my tube preamp and then back here into the volume pedal, and from the volume pedal into the amp. And then of course right there is the DC brake power supply, and those are my little Beatles dolls, because you have to have those. The first thing, I go straight from the guitar into a noise suppressor. Now because I play a Fender, you can't really hear it that well, but you get a hum. And what that does is that just gets rid of that hum. That just deadens everything up. And with a Fender with just standard passive Fender pickups, you're going to get a loud signal a lot of the time, especially if you're running a loud amp, you know, which I frequently do. So that kind of dries out a lot and doesn't really affect the sound. You still have a clear, clean tone. No issue there. So from that I run straight into a compressor, which you can tell the difference. For one, it makes it louder. For two, it brings everything all back to the same volume. It just sort of, you know, takes off the top and lifts up the bottom of it. And that compressor is perfect for, say, country stuff. That type of stuff, which I don't get to do much of these days, so whenever I can, I jump at the chance. Now the noise gate and the compressor are the only things I leave running all night. Those things are both always on. Because I like to just have that ability to keep my guitar in about the same place all the time. You know, it doesn't have to be applied to country, but when you lift that off, everything sort of moves around a little too much for me, so I like to keep it right about the same. You know, an easy way to just sort of keep yourself in check and make sure you don't go too over the top on a solo or something like that. After that, the one issue I've always had with Telecasters, I played a Strat for my whole life until I bought this thing. And the one thing I run into is that I can never seem to get the EQ real even between these two pickups. And I love to use the neck pickup on these things because it sounds awesome. But if I have it EQ'd for the bridge pickup and I jump over the neck pickup, listen, it's muddy. It isn't. You can't. There's no clarity for it. Meanwhile, if I've got it EQ'd for the neck pickup, then I jump back up the bridge, and it's real tinny and bad. So I have an equalizer pedal, a Boss EQ GE7. Man, I should probably tell you what the pedals are. The first one was a Boss noise suppressor NS2, and then the compressor was an MXR Dynacomp. So I have a Boss GE7 equalizer, which is a 7-band EQ, and what that does, so here's without it. When you kick that thing in, and that just clears it right up. There's your sound. It's kind of a bluesy. Got a real punchy, throaty sound, which is perfect for like any sort of like Stevie Ray Vaughan. Stuff like that. Telecasters get surprisingly good Strat sounds. Honestly, better than any Strat I've played, and I have a few of them, and I can never quite get that sound out of a Strat. So that EQ pedal is a lifesaver. From there, we switch over here to a Dunlop Crybaby 535Q. Now, what I love about this wah pedal is it's adjustable for days. You can set volumes, you can set your the tone of it basically, and there's a little knob on the edge here that's got 5 different presets, and I've got mine on the 5th one. I like a real wide open wah pedal, but if you drop it down, it's a deeper wah, and it just sort of goes all the way through that into the real big. It's all in between, and the best part, you can use it as a distorted wah pedal as well. So there's a little button on the edge there that just muddies it up. Which is awesome. Another thing that's like, it's got certain applications. That one you can run away with a little too easily. And that in itself is kind of the inherent flaw of effects pedals, is that you can let them run away from you. So you have to kind of watch yourself, because anytime I get a new toy, the first night I usually go a little over the top with it. So, the first night's for fun, the rest of the nights are for effect. A lot of the next stuff coming up is all effects. So let's just jump right on past it. So after that, I've got a Boss Chorus Ensemble CE5, and this may be my favorite pedal on the board, next to one of my favorite pedals on the board. It's just one of the prettiest choruses I've ever heard. Again, that's another one that you can let run away from a little too much, because choruses have a time and a place, and really any effect has a time and a place, and you just got to make sure it's not, okay, here comes Nick with another chorus solo. It's good for a few things. For example, in my band we do a Greg Kinn song called "The Breakup Song," and it's one of the few songs I leave the chorus on all night, or not all night, the whole song, because it's got that riff. And without it, it's a little boring. So it adds right to it. And mine, you can tell, has been used a lot because I have to stomp on it a whole bunch of times. Again, I would absolutely recommend that chorus pedal to anybody. That is one of the times I came in here looking for a specific pedal and not, hey guys, I need a compressor or something like that. I said, I need a Chorus Ensemble CE5. I love that pedal. So jumping on from there, I have another Boss pedal. Man, I have a lot of Boss pedals on this board. You can get a lot of Boss pedals here at Pop's Music Shop. But from there, I've got a flanger. What is this? A Boss BF3 flanger. Chorus can run away from you, and flanger can run over you. I mean, flanger is such a specialized thing. There's one song I leave that on for the whole song, and that's it. In a 4-hour night, I'll play that for one full song, and that's it. Sometimes it's good for effect, though. If you're driving something, and they just say you switch down to like a flat 6. It's good for just that sort of effect. It's really great for like diamonds, stuff like that, but you don't want to just... you start to lose the actual melody of the guitar a little bit. Plus, I mean, I've got mine set really high. They're really cool for in-the-moment stuff, but outside of that, I try never to use that because it's just a lot. So, it's a great pedal. It's just excessive sometimes. So jumping off from there, from the flanger I run into, this is one of the few pedals I actually didn't buy here at Pops, but I'll still run it through you, by it because it's a great little pedal. And these guys can get just about anything for you. This is a hot tone tremolo. It's like that big. And it's a great tremolo. And it's all kinds of adjustable. One of the things I like to do is so instead of putting on that full cutting all the way in, I like it sort of a light sometimes. This is great for CCR. It's perfect for that type of stuff. You can set the speed of it and the depth. Like I said, you can get it full like that, and you can just crank it right up. It sounds terrible, but you can do it. I tend to keep it right around 7/8, or rather 6, I should say. And you can. It's got depth, so how far, it cuts the volume out. So you can bring it more shallow like that, or completely mute it. And then there's another knob on there called color, which is effectively a tone knob. It just gives you a high-end boost, which I'm playing a Telecaster on the bridge pickup. I don't need high-end. From there we go into this great little delay pedal that I got here a few years ago. It's an MXR carbon copy analog delay. And I've got it a little bit quiet here because I've got a boost in front of this thing. But now the cool thing about this pedal, it's super adjustable. You can set your length of delay, you can set the mix, which is how loud the actual delay is, and the regen, which is how many echoes it actually... So I've got mine to about 5. Very pretty, but the cool thing about it, there's a button on here called Mod. See how you got to listen for it a little bit, but it detunes it just a little bit. It sort of floats it up and down, which is perfect. So let's run a few pedals together here. Let's say we'll throw on the equalizer so I can jump over to my neck pickup, and we'll put on the chorus ensemble and the carbon copy delay. And that mod mixed with the chorus gives it this sort of out of tune, which normally isn't good depending on what you're doing. However, if you want to do something like, say, Pink Floyd, it's perfect for it. So that carbon copy delay is great, and I don't typically use it for that much of an effect. What I typically use a delay for is to kind of to just sort of give my solos a little bit more air, so I can move around a little bit. Because if everything's perfectly dry, if you got everything off, you just, it's easy to get a little choppy. So if you've got the delay on, it kind of opens it up, it frees it up a little bit, it gives you a little bit of room to breathe. One of the last things on this pedal here, and I've had this thing since I was, probably 9 or 10 years old. I've had this thing forever. Is an Ibanez TS9 tube screamer. I take back what I said about the ensemble. The TS9 is my absolute favorite pedal. It overdrives the tubes. This is not a great pedal to use if you're using a solid state amp, because it doesn't really have the right place to go. The whole point of the tube screamer is to make tubes scream. So my setup's not quite this on stage after all this, I've got a tube preamp that my dad custom built for me. And so my amp isn't really doing much work. The tubes in the preamp are just getting overdriven. They're getting a lot of work put into them because I already keep them, you know, I tend to keep a little bit of grit on my guitar as it is. And then I kick that on and it's just goes crazy on those tubes. And you know, if we run this in conjunction with a few things, let's put a few things together. So we've got the Boss EQ. There's that Fender hum. So we've got the Boss EQ into the chorus ensemble, those two running, along with the carbon copy, which is a little bit hot right now, and the tube screamer, and that gives you this. It just gives you this crazy, like, kind of Pat Travers-y sort of sound, which I love. It's just a crazy sound, and you know, I'm just thrilled with this setup. And the one other thing I've got in here that it's not hooked in right now, because this kind of goes from my preamp back into the board. I leave the board and then come back to it. The two things I don't have hooked up right now, I've got just a Dunlop huge volume pedal that's got like tire treads on it. It's really cool. Great passive volume pedal. And then the other thing is I've got a Dunlop Heil talk box. Kind of hard to hook that up if I don't have a mic stand, so I didn't bring that one with me. Those are the other two things I've got on the floor with me at any given time. But, you know, overall everything on this board, minus, with the exception of, I think, 2 pedals, I didn't get here. And everything on here, pretty much, you can get here.